actually able to, uh, I had better bosses here and they were able to give me a medical leave. So August of last year, 2024, I started my medical leave.
Hmm.
So the max is about 6 months.
Hmm.
So during that time, I was told maybe you should try therapy,
Hmm.
right? I was like, okay, fine. Maybe if it's not a physical ailment that I can control and solve, maybe I can try, but there's a mind-gut connection.
Hmm. Hmm.
But I'm still fighting, right? I'm still trying to control this thing
Yeah.
as best I can. But I'm like still I'm trying to maintain my faith. And I will say I was never mad at God when this happened. God has showed me in the past that like he's faithful and been able to be there for me. And the bad things that happen in this world, it's not like God is like, I caused that. You know what I mean? I think because of sin and the results of sin, the consequences of sin, we live in a world that has pain and suffering and things we can't control.
Hmm.
But God is not going to, I don't think he wastes stuff like that. He uses that to help us like refine our character and rely on God even more because if anything, we're humans and we have horrible memories. And I know for me, a reminder of depending on God is never a bad thing. So
Mm.
during this time, I think, of course, immediately I'm like asking, I'm just like on my knees, just praying, and I cry a lot. I'm very emotional. And I think sometimes, honestly, my prayers during this time has just been, please, God, help me. I just couldn't say anything more because I just felt like I'm a pretty positive person, but I think
Mhm.
this really like took me down, because it's
Mm.
it's such a chronic thing. Like at that time, I thought I fixed it. It's not like I can take a pill, a drug, and have it go away. It kept coming back. And what made it worse this time was it started to affect my personal life. So
Mm.
even though I was on medical leave, I got the nausea vomiting at home. I got it at church sometimes, which I'm not stressed at church, right? So I'm like, what's going on? I had it in the parking lot of the grocery store. I've had it in my car. I've had it at my friends' places. I actually started to have a lot of fear.
Mm.
Fear of like I don't know. I just have a very YOLO personality, very sociable. And now I'm like having to worry if I leave my house, will I get sick? And I
Wow.
felt like I just wasn't safe. I always had
Mm.
Zofran. I had certain medications in my bag with me at all times. And I always had to make sure that was with me. But it's not like it was protective. It's not like I can take it and for sure I wouldn't have it because I tried that and I still got sick.
Mm.
So I'm like, what do I do? And I have a healthy level of fear. Like,
Mhm.
like heights. I have some fear of
Yeah.
heights. Like roller coaster, probably, haunted house, like mansions, right? All the stuff. But to have fear of like being in groups of people, socializing, being around food, I started to hate food because it's not like, with nausea, you associate food with it,
Correct.
right? And it didn't matter if I ate. I tried to eat on time, but I still was like my stomach felt so angry and uncontrollable, and I had no idea what was happening.
Mm.
So for me, I think I became someone not Nina. Like
Mm. Mhm.
if I was looking at myself from the outside, I was like, who is this person? This is not the Nina who I know, who's gone through so much, who survived CRNA school, has been a independent, like strong, like woman. Now I'm just so in my mind, I pictured myself as weak, as like something's wrong with me and I can't do anything about it. But no one would ever know. If you looked at me, it's not like I talked about this except to my close friends and people who I trusted. I looked like I was fine. I'm actually really good at wearing a mask, right?
Mhm.
And I think my culture and my job taught me to do that, right? I remember as an ICU nurse, I was an ICU nurse for 3 years before I went to CRNA school. You have a couple patients. If this patient, like, say something happens and they like passed away, I can't cry and break down there. I have to take care of my other patient.
Correct.
And so I often would have to wait till I'm in the car or till I'm
Mhm.
home to cry. So I think just wearing that mask was so exhausting, especially dealing with this nausea vomiting thing that I have no idea what's going on. So fear controlled my life. And it's crazy to think that, like,
Mhm.
I had friends telling me, I mean, they were trying to be nice, but like maybe have more faith, think more positively, and all this stuff. And I'm like, I am, but I'm still struggling.
Did
So
those things actually help you, or did it feel like it made you feel more helpless?
more helpless because now it's implying like I'm not a good enough Christian. My walk with God isn't very good, and that's why
Mhm.
you're struggling with stuff. Your faith needs to be more, and you're so negative about this. You gotta be more positive. They never said this to me, but this is
Mhm.
kind of how I'm interpreting it. And I'm
Mhm.
just kind of like, you don't know what I'm going through.
Mhm.
Every day is a struggle mentally. For me to even leave the house and go somewhere was an accomplishment for me.
Mhm.
So I went to therapy, and this was an intensive group therapy. So it's actually a
Mhm.
bunch of people dealing with different medical issues, but all dealing with the same emotional stuff.
Mm, okay.
And it was during this therapy time that I really got to focus on things I didn't realize I had problems with. Like, I didn't know boundaries very well. I'm a recovering people pleaser, recovering perfectionist. I don't
Mhm.
let go of things very much. They even commented at my therapist was like, the moment I saw you, you seem like you have your life together, but I knew you were wearing a mask. And I was like,
Wow.
woo, dang, you called me out. That's very intuitive. And she knew like I'm very type A, just the way I acted and how I presented myself. So it was during this time that I was going through therapy and still feeling sick that I think it was September or October. I was trying to think what's the next steps. And I was like, I'm still getting sick. And it's so bad now that it affected my personal life. So what do I do? I don't think I could be a CRNA anymore. Um, and this part can make me emotional, so I apologize for this, but I'm not a quitter. I don't just, when you have a goal that you work so hard for,
Yeah.
it's not easy to let that go.
Mhm.
And um, it took like 10 years to become a CRNA. And at this time, I've been working as one for four years now, right? So I've been doing it for a while.
Mhm.
So to have this illness come out of nowhere, and now I have to be like, I might not be able to be a CRNA.
Mhm.
And if you remember, that was my purpose. I
Mhm.
literally was like, God saved my life 10 years ago to be a CRNA. So if I'm not a CRNA anymore, my sense of purpose is gone. I'm going to feel lost. I'm going to feel like, what did I do all this work for if I can't
Mhm.
be a CRNA? What's my next step? I don't know. And it was hard, girl. It was very
Mhm.
hard. It took 2 months of praying with people and crying about it to God. It took 2 months of therapy and
Mhm.
just 2 months of like just agonizing over the decision. But I finally made the decision. I remember in therapy, I said it out loud, and that's when I broke down. Because when you say
Mhm.
it out loud, it makes it more real. I was just like, I think I'm just gonna quit this job again and actually just quit the CRNA field.
So during that time, like and thank you so much for sharing. I love how you're even pointing out how when you have thought that this is your purpose and you work so hard for it, and when you come to a point, you're like, what do I do now? And it's kind of like you said, this letting go. And that can be very hard. So during that time, what was God saying to you? Were there things that he was just echoing in your mind or your heart so that you can come to this point or either help you through? What was helping you to be able to say that is bold as well?
Yeah.
Because to be able to even say, I've come to this point is not easy. But what was God saying?
That's a really good question. I'm actually glad you brought that up because sometimes I can talk a lot about the story, but I'm like, God is in the story too. So I want to bring that back. I think one of the verses that really connected with me during, because at this point I've been on, so previously I was off work for 3 months and then now I've been on medical leave, right? And eventually as we continue the chronological order of the story, it'll be another 6 months. So I've had a lot of time to like think and process and talk to God. And I think Psalm 46:10 is a very common verse, but be still and know that I am God. Well, here's the thing. I am a go, goer. I work hard, I play harder. That was my motto. And so I think God knew that to get my attention, something like this probably needed to happen where my life is halted and now I can be still and know that God is God. Well, what do
Mm,
I mean by that, right?
mhm,
Like I'm not spending quality time with him. I'm doing all the right stuff. I'm going to Bible studies, I'm teaching Bible studies, I'm going to church, I'm praying with people, but like actually having that heart-to-heart relationship with God and really, really depending on him and surrendering, I think I didn't actually do as much of that as I thought
mhm,
I was. So being still allowed me to just reorganize my priorities, be like, what is actually good for me?
mhm,
And I had a lot of time. I love walking and talking, and I would walk and talk with God often because my body handled the walking. Being in nature
Mm,
was actually really good for my stomach and my health. So I did a lot of that. Because of that, I got to focus on like some Bible verses, listen to some sermons, and just talk with God and be like, I don't know what's going on, but like I know you're still good. And so that helped me a lot.
mm,
And then I forgot to mention this, but whenever I would have that fear, which was a lot, right? Often,
mm,
um, I a long time ago, when I was here at my one of my church members, we were all doing something called Chub Club, which is just like a walking and a running club that we'll do Sundays. And the guy who was leading it, one of these times, he was like, everyone, take some time to memorize this verse, Second Timothy
mm,
1:7. So I was
mhm,
like, all right, I'll do it. So I memorized that. Little did I know that that verse would have actually helped me years later as
wow.
I'm going through this.
Mm,
So whenever I would have the fear, immediately I'm like, Second Timothy 1:7. God did not give us a spirit of fear, but one of power, love, and a sound mind. And I kept repeating that over and over to be like, get that fear out. Have more. I want my faith to be greater than my fear,
amen. Hmm.
you know? And so that helped me a lot. So that's one of my favorite verses now because I mean, it's true. Like God didn't give us a spirit of fear. He gave us power because there's so much that the humans can do through God, right? He gave us love. We have the ability to love, which is such a strong motivator to do so many things, including worship and glorify God, and a sound mind. That helped me a lot, right? Because I'm going through therapy and I'm like, I ain't crazy. I have a strong mind.
Yes.
I can deal with this, but I need God's help, you
Hmm.
know. And we can do nothing of our own accord, really. Like the best things that we have to offer other people and ourselves is from God, right? So those two verses were kind of some of my favorites during this difficult time because I needed to learn like, stop what you're doing, Nina. Let's reassess because you're go going so much that what's the point? Like,
Mm,
and a lot of people do that, right? Especially when you're in the medical field, but just that society is like the more you achieve, the more you accomplish, the better you are, the more you're going to be looked upon um with like your reputation is good and like they just look up to you. And I remember like even at work when I'll be like people will come be like, "Oh, how was your week?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I did this and this." And then other people will try and one up you, right? And they'll be like, "Oh, well, I did this and this." And it's not even like they're not trying to, but it kind of ends up being a competition of how
mhm,
much did you get done in the same amount of time.
mm,
And you end up like kind of praising the people that get a
mm,
ton done. And I realized like that's probably toxic. Like I don't know if that's right. Um, you can do so much work for the wrong things. And I'm not saying like
mm,
work is bad. I'm not saying the things you do, even like the things for God, like Bible studies and helping out the church and stuff, but like stopping to smell the roses, like stopping to really have that quality time with God and with the people in your life, like the hospital setting, for example, you're
mhm,
just like next patient, next patient, next patient. Well, are you actually trying to like see the patient holistically, not just deal with their physical ailments, but are you checking, are you emotionally okay? Are
mhm,
you mentally okay? Are you spiritually okay? Do you want some prayer? You know what I mean?
mhm, mhm,
It doesn't always give like they don't give us a lot of time to do stuff like that. And I know because as an anesthesia provider, they give you only so much time. They want turnover time quick. They want the patient in the room next because time is money. And
right.
next patient in, the more we can do, more surgeries. And I don't think I really liked that
Mhm,
culture. I
mhm,
just did it because it's my job. So
right.
anyways, long answer to that, but essentially I think those two verses helped me a lot with just
Mhm,
understanding maybe that's why this had to happen.
mm,
Um, but I think there's such a good ending to this. Like and I think looking on the other side of things, this is where the miracle comes in.
mm.